All right, hello. My name is Santiago from Sama Landscape Service, and I have right here one of my best guys, Chef from Chef Tropical Pest Control. And I met Chef many years ago, and I've been watching all the work that he do in every single property, and eventually we ended up working together. Where he's actually start wishing open his own pest control service. Um, I got Jeff right here, and this is a great opportunity to go with little details about like what happens and winter time with strawberry and lawns damage and problems and how he dealing with those particular problems. What do you see, Jeff, and winter time? What is the most common problems that you have to fighting to keep your yards and your plants healthy?
Well, in the wintertime, the temperatures, when the mean temperature gets below 70 degrees on an average daily basis, the plants go dormant. We're in a subtropical climate, so the grass does not grow as fast, and the plants don't grow as fast. They don't take up nutrients as well as they do when we have 80 degrees plus for climate, which means we get funguses sometimes in the wintertime, especially if we have a very wet winter, particularly between December, January, and February. And then, usually in early spring, it dries out in Southwest Florida. Okay. So then we have to make sure that we're getting our irrigation.
And in winter time, can you fertilize?
We can fertilize during the winter.
Can you see more result fertilizer in the winter than the summertime?
No, not at all. We do a lower nitrogen value in our fertilizers in the wintertime. Generally, we fertilize in October, first in the fall. I know we're talking about winter, but we're in a blackout for the summer from June to October 1st. We cannot put any nitrogen down on the turf. So what we do is we wait until October. The grass is always hungry in October. We fertilize in, and then depending on how the weather is, if it's a mild winter, we'll go ahead and do what I call a winterization of the turf with a smaller value nitrogen in the analysis of the fertilizer. Usually in the summertime, for example, we'll use a 16-2-8 fertilizer to put on the turf. In the wintertime, you want to go down maybe to a 10-0-6, something like that. And we don't put quite as much volume out as we do in the summertime. But this will give the grass enough nitrogen to keep it healthy and keep it growing. And basically, like I said, I call it winterizing the grass. It's still going to need nutrients because we're in Southwest Florida. It's not like we're in Maine where it's going to, it's on the ground and everything dies. It still has to keep going. But mostly in the wintertime, as far as the turf goes, it's a fungus issue that we'll have. And we don't usually, unless it's in the 80s again in January, and it happens, you may have some chinch bug activity, but that's
more in the
that's more in the summer months for sure.
Now it's something that I really want to put up there. That we've been having very often, like the cold drops that we have this winter.
Oh, yeah.
And we see it all over the place. A lot of strawberry and tropical plants that we are over here in Florida damaged and plants dying.
That's right.
What you can say about educating people to provide any cold damage or damage protection?
Well, most of these subtropical plants and varietals that we tend to run across and that are in landscapes for decorative reasons or ornamental plants, those need to be covered with drop cloths when the temperatures are going to get down below 35 degrees. I know 32 is freezing, but if we're up below 30 degrees for more than 5 hours and you haven't put any drop cloths on your plants, you're going to have damage to the plants. So this is something that either you as the landscape provider can do for your customers or your customers can do for themselves. Exactly. Even if you take an old blanket or some sheets, out of your cupboard or out of your closet and put them out over the plants, it will help tremendously to keep them from being damaged by the cold. What happens, unfortunately, to a lot of, especially palm trees, because palm trees aren't really trees, they're giant grasses. And what happens is that they have fibrous tissues inside the trunk of the tree. If it's less than 30 degrees for more than 5 hours, those fibers, the water in those tissues expands and it breaks each cell wall in the tree. And then what happens is after that, they start to rot inside. and we lose all kinds, especially Adeninia palms or Christmas tree palms they call them. Ironically enough, because they don't do well in cold. But those will have to be replaced normally after a hard freeze.
That was a good answer right there. I think we got the part covered because there's a lot of people every winter time they worry about that.
Oh, absolutely.
Now, when we come to summertime, again, what we dealing in the summertime constantly versus damage in the lawn and shrubbery and the bugs that you see, insects and plant material.
In the summertime?
Yes, sir.
Well, usually what happens is, once we get above 80 degrees average temperature for the day, you will start to see chinch bugs in the turf, especially in St. Augustine turf. They don't normally get in turf like zoysia and Bermuda, but most of the turf down here is St. Augustine or Floritan turf, and they will start up. So what we want to do is get in late April, early May, we want to put a systemic insecticide in the root zone of that turf. So when the chinch bugs do come out of their instar sleep, basically they're in like a hibernation. They wake up, they will eat the rhizomes in the grass, and if it's already been treated with a systemic fertilizer, and when I say systemic, it means that the insecticide is taken up all through the root zones and the rhizomes. They start eating that and they die, and that is the beauty of that, is they cannot regenerate. Once you've killed off the first hatch of spring, there's nothing to regenerate, and then you're pretty much clean all summer long, and this is what we try to provide every spring.
Yeah. I'll be walk around later on and show you my beautiful lawns that he's taking care for us, and show you pictures and see how nice and green and everything is taken care of. Thank you so much, man, to help me out.
No,
and I hope that we can do business for a long time and keep going working hard and give more improvement to the clients.
Your standards are very high, and I appreciate that, and your service standards are very high. So we make a good team.
Thank you. And we need to keep it up that way.
Absolutely, always.
All right, I want to show you something that I see very common, and now that we're here with Jeff, and a pygmy palm frost top damage.
Frizzle top. Yes, that's what they call it. I mean,
okay.
It's either a nutrient deficiency or possibly a fungal pathogen.
Let's walk over there. Let's show people how they look like. We got this. No. What is the name of the damage?
Frizzle top is what is commonly known as. But really, what's going on here is the lack of micronutrients. Number one, first of all, you see these. These are what's left over from the fruits that they produce in the early summer, late spring, and so this really probably sapped a lot of the nutrients out of this particular plant. So what it really needs right now are a few things. It needs some iron, it needs some boron, and it needs some manganese sulfate. And what we would do is apply that around the root zone of the bottom of the plant, so it could translocate up through the cambium of this particular tree, and it will give it what it needs to have a more vigorous, healthy look to it. The leaves will open up better. This damage that's already done is not going to be fixed by doing this. It will have to be, physically removed. But once that's done, the new growth that comes out will be healthy, green, and lush, and that's, of course, what you want in your landscape.
Okay. And now this is actually a common problem. What is the time of the year that you see these problems?
You can see this any time of year, and especially early spring, early fall, because after a long summer, all the nutrients that are in the root zone, sometimes, especially if we've had a busy tropical season and we've had a lot of heavy rains, that stuff is already washed out of the root zone of the plant. The root ball in this plant right here probably goes down, 2 or 3 feet maybe.
Okay.
So those nutrients are now gone. So what we need to do is replace those nutrients.
And fertilize right away. The summer is gone.
Correct. So now it's going to recover, and then at the end of the winter, it's pretty much the same thing. You have to get, especially if they're showing and presenting like this. It's could be that it's getting a little too much water in the summer, like I said, and then you see this in the fall. Right now, it's July, and this is presenting like this, and I really think, because it's been kind of dry, that this is probably more of a macronutrient deficiency than a fungus, but we will treat it for both. because you have to play the doctor. You just make a cocktail. You know what I mean? Give it what it possibly could need to cover all your bases, and then we'll see results.
That was great. Jeff, thank you so much for everything again.
Thank you, my
Right.
man. My pleasure.
We're working together. I'll see you next.
All right. Sounds good.